Hi friends, Priyank here. Thanks for looking into my blog. I'm currently a student at Indian Institute of Management Ranchi and I have a lot of interest in the subject of leadership consulting, organization building, design and change. The topic for my today's presentation is how leaders can develop a culture of innovation in the organization and what are the building blocks. This is a presentation that I had prepared for a leading leadership consulting firm in India as a part of my internship selection process. Let me tell you guys, this was one of the most interesting studies that I had done, and I would like all of you to just have a look at what are the findings of my research. So, let's move on with our presentation. Since our topic revolves around how leaders can develop a culture of innovation in the organization, we shall first start with why the leadership of the organization is responsible to develop this culture. Now, while going through how a leader influences an organization's culture, I was reminded of the Hindu mythology, wherein the entire universe is ruled by three supreme gods: Lord Brahma, Lord of Creation; Vishnu, who is the Lord of Operation; and Lord Mahesh, the god who destroys everything that is unnecessary. Every individual has one or more of the Brahma Shakti, Vishnu Shakti, or the Mahesh Shakti dominant in him. And the person who has all the three qualities blossomed fully is called the Guru because he has the Guru Shakti. No wonder people with amazing management styles are called the management gurus. Similarly, any leader of the organization is the God for his organization. God, which stands for GOD, that is G for generator, O for operator, and D for destroyer. Generator because he has the ultimate ability to generate opportunities for the organization to innovate and to develop a culture of innovation and creativity. Operator because he is capable to implement the idea and commercialize it, thus converting the idea into an efficient and profitable venture. And ultimately, he has to be the destroyer because he can weed out those ventures which are not working to avoid unnecessary expenses, investment of time, money, and effort. I would like to cite the example here of Steve Jobs with his excellent leadership skills he displayed in making Apple one of the most innovative companies in the world. He is, for me, the innovation guru with his unique ability to create products, encourage his team to implement it with rigor, and his ability to pick out useful innovations and weed out all those things he thought were unnecessary, unviable, or unprofitable. Now that we understand why leaders are responsible for developing a culture of innovation in the organization, we move on to a core topic of discussion: the culture of innovation. Innovation, the organizational context. Most organizations today confuse between innovation and creativity. Creativity is idea and innovation is commercializing that idea. So, the company thinks that if they have an idea and a great leader, they will innovate. That is, they'll develop a culture of innovation in the organization. However, what most companies fail to understand is the third and the most important variable of the equation, that is, the organization. Because if you do not have an organization which fosters a culture of innovation, no great leader can carry the torch of innovation forward. Thus, for me, a culture of innovation is a culture where the leaders strive to encourage innovative ideas in each and every corner of the organization. That is, leaders plus ideas plus the right organization equals culture of innovation. When we talk of culture, various attributes come to my mind. That is, an organizational culture depends on the following attributes, that is, processes, rules, beliefs, values, environment, behavior, norms, and attitude. However, in order to develop a culture of innovation in the organization, there is one attribute which supersedes all others, or may even go to the extent of saying that each of the factors mentioned before is influenced by the single attribute, that is, change in mindset. The leaders of the organization must understand that the world around them is continuously changing in terms of customers, technology, demographics, clients, etc. And hence, in order to adapt to these changes, only simply re engineering the existing systems won't work. There is a growing need to develop an innovational culture in the organization, and the key to this is changing the mindset of the organization. Now, since we are talking of mindsets, let's have a comparative analysis of the mindset of the Western employees and the Indian employees. Western civilization is governed with a very objective mindset. That is, they rely on binary logic a lot. Yes and no's. There are standard processes, standard rules and regulations for every operation. They are very linear in thinking and procedure oriented. Compliance to processes is one of the key aspects of any business. Every industry has standard business models, that is vision, mission, values and processes. When compared this with the Indian scenario, the Indian employees are governed by more of a probabilistic logic. That is, everything is governed by fuzzy logic. Opinion oriented. People are very opinion oriented in India. Secondly, we have personal emotions that come into play, and everything here is contextual and relative. More than documentation and contract, we believe in conversation and trust. It is more about jugaad or getting things done, at times even by breaking or bending the rules. Hence, for a leader leading an Indian organization, it is important to know the mindset of the people before creating the cornerstone for culture of innovation. So that brings us to the question, how can leaders in India develop a culture of innovation? Culture of innovation through change in mindset. Let's do a quick recap of what we have understood so far. We have understood that for a leader to develop a culture of innovation in the organization, it is important for him to change the mindset of the organization. However, how do you quantify a mindset? It is not something you can see or touch. So, how do you change something that is so intangible? I've discovered a very interesting correlation between mindset and behavior. Mindset of a person results in his behavior. He acts what he believes. His actions or behavior reflects his mindset. So conclusively, to change the mindset of the employees in the organization, it is necessary for them to change their behavior. That is, a change in mindset equals to change in behavior. That brings us to the core building blocks of innovation. Factors which beat the bush head on, that is, factors which influence behavior. I have identified three behavioral drivers which I believe are necessary to change the mindset of the employees of the organization. The first driver is change in employee belief. Second is change in the business environment, which includes changing the climate, processes, and structures. And third is changing in the way how innovations are rewarded. That is, changing the way in which the leader sees the innovator, even in success or in failure. Let's discuss all these building blocks one by one. The first building block for innovation is changing employee beliefs. How do you explain when some leaders are able to defy all the assumptions and encourage their employees to be innovative? For example, why was Steve Jobs so successful? Why is Apple so innovative? Year after year, they come up with excellent quality products better than anyone else in their competition. They have the access to the same talent, same technology, same media, but still, if someone were to ask campus passouts, do they find most innovative, Apple or Dell? The reply 95% of the time would be Apple. Why is it so? Is there something at play here? Is there a pattern? Yes, there is. A pattern in which all inspiring people in the world think, act, and communicate, and it is exactly the same. That something is what a man called Simon Sinek named as the golden circle of belief. That is, the circle which says what, why, and how. Let's see. Most leaders know what they are innovating. Some know how they are doing it. But there are very few leaders who exactly know why they are doing it. By why, I don't mean profit. Profit is the result, that's always the result. But by why, I mean what's your purpose, what's your cause, what's your belief? Is innovation really required? Or you're doing it just because everyone else is doing it? The way we normally think is obvious. We think from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. That is, from outside of the circle, that is what, to the inside of the circle, that is why. But most inspired leaders think from why, how, and what, that is, from inside to the outside. Now, to get a better understanding of the golden circle of belief, let's take the example of Steve Jobs. If Steve Jobs was like any ordinary leader, he would communicate from outside in. That is, if you ask him why Apple innovates, his reply would be, we make great computers. We do this by bringing in breakthrough designs, making them simple to use and user friendly. And that is why innovation is important to our organization. Would you like to innovate for us? Now, with this kind of communication, how would the employee reply? He won't be really sure of whether he wants to join the organization. Now, let's see how Steve Jobs really communicates. He communicates from the inside out. When you ask him why Apple wants to innovate, he starts with the innermost circle, that is, why. The message would be like, everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo, we believe in doing things differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by continuously improving our products, making them beautifully designed, simple to use, and user friendly. We just happen to make great computers. That is why we innovate. Totally different, right? You're ready to work for him. All I did was reverse the order in which I communicate the message. Now, the best part of the golden circle of belief is that all of the findings are grounded in the tenets of biology. Because when you look at the human brain from top down, it is divided into three parts, that is neocortex, limbic system, and the reptilian brain. The what in the golden circle aligns with the neocortex. The neocortex is responsible for the rational thinking, analytical thought, and understanding language. The middle two portions, that is how and why, correspond to the limbic brains, which are associated more with feelings like trust and loyalty. They are also responsible for all the human behavior, decision making, and they have absolutely no capacity for language. Thus, when we communicate from the outside in, people understand what they are to do, how they are to do it. They understand the facts and figures. However, it just doesn't drive behavior. But when we communicate from the inside out, we are directly talking to that part of the brain which drives behavior. So employees can rationalize the things we ask them to do. And this is how leaders can drive behavior, making the employees believe in your idea of innovation and thus driving them towards working in a creative and innovative manner. This is how belief drives behavior. Let's look at the second building block for innovation, that is changing the business environment or developing the right environment to encourage innovation. Any business starts with hiring the right talent, and for innovation, the leader must be open to hire people who are not accustomed to the function of your organization. That is, he must always be in search of unpredictable answers. He'll get these unpredictable answers only if he has the gumption to bring in people from outside the organization, that is, people who are working in competing firms, because innovation happens only when one idea clashes against another idea. Similarly, as the leader is open to remote views, he must also be open to the inner voices of the organization, which have a lot of ideas to improve the existing processes. However, these voices have been restrained by structures and processes in the organization. Hence, In order to encourage the culture of innovation in the organization, it is important for the leader to understand that he has to redesign the entire structure and the process in the organization. In order to create a conducive environment for developing the culture of innovation in the organization, the leader must create what I call the Sri Krishna environment. Now, Sri Krishna is the Hindu mythological god who has been highly appreciated for his leadership and management qualities. Now, let's see what teachings of Sri Krishna can we imbibe in the current business scenario to develop a culture of innovation. First, encouraging the creative genius. Just as Sri Krishna identified Arjuna and brought out the best in him during the battleground of Mahabharata, it is important that each and every leader identifies the creativity in the employees of the organization and encourage that creativity to transform it into innovation. Tolerance of failure. Sri Krishna always said, Karam karo, phal ki chinta na karo. That is, always work, do not think about the results. So also, the leader must make sure that he is ready to tolerate any failure during the process of innovation, because no innovation has come without having a series of failures through which the employees have developed and created new ideas for the organization. Resource allocation. Organizations cannot achieve desired results without appropriate allocation of role and team spirit. This is exactly what Lord Krishna's role as a coordinator in Mahabharata was, to determine what Yudhishthir would do, where Arjuna would be, and what exactly Bhim would do at what stage of the battle. Similarly, it is important for the leader to identify correct resources for implementing correct ideas and thus fostering a culture of innovation. Fourth, the risk taking appetite, because there is no innovation without risk, and any CEO must be ready to take risk if he wants to encourage innovation in his organization. Now, Sri Krishna was called Ranchor Das, meaning a coward who flees the battlefield. But very few people know that he fled to avoid unnecessary loss of lives. A leader, similarly, is in charge of the entire organization, and hence it is his duty to weed out those innovations which he thinks are consuming a lot of unnecessary resources and eventually would be unviable and unprofitable to the business. Barrier free communication. Sri Krishna always believed in imparting his entire knowledge to his disciples. Similarly, a leader must understand that in order to develop a culture of innovation in the organization, it is important that there is free flowing communication from the top management to the employees and from the employees to the top management, so that they understand each other and thus can collectively contribute to innovation. That brings us to the third building block for innovation, that is, rewarding innovation or innovator rewards. There are three questions that I would like to pose before you. First, why would a person be motivated to innovate? Why would he share an innovative idea with you? Why would he share his knowledge with others? What is he getting in return? Now, in order to understand these questions, it is important to understand the Indian mindset. Indians do not respond to instructions or processes, they respond to passion and emotion. We Indians appreciate everything we get with a personal touch. For us, personal touch invokes trust, loyalty, as well as motivation. For example, even if we have a postal address of a person, we almost always tend to ask people the exact address. For an employee to feel appreciated, a leader must make him feel genuinely rewarded for the innovation or the idea that the employee puts forward. Success or failure doesn't matter. Every successful innovation is as important as an unsuccessful one, and there must be incentive attached to every innovation. Because by taking cues from an unsuccessful innovation or application of innovation, it may inspire others to try as well. Thus, it is important that every leader rewards innovation, celebrates ideas, and encourages creativity. Now that we have discussed the three building blocks of innovation, the important question that arises before us is how can companies get started? Get started on the culture of innovation. Unlike chemistry or accounting, innovation is a discipline and the building blocks can be learned, built, practiced, and managed. Through repeated practice, the discipline is built and eventually the cultural DNA of the organization comes into alignment for successful innovation. But at the outset, not every firm will have these three building blocks in place. We can, however, identify the gaps and fill them without having to reinvent the wheel. The road to building the foundation for innovation is old and time tested. And while there are many starting points, a firm can begin the journey by putting together a group whose role will be to serve as innovation champions. They will help the firm shape its values and create the climate for cultural innovation. As the process continues and matures, this group can be grown into a community of champs, mentors, and coaches. Along the way, we must give this community a common vision and a common language of innovation, provide them concepts and tools to build the processes, coach their innovation behaviors, and help them practice continuous experimentation. Although this journey may take several years, the investment can yield real benefits before all disciplines are fully developed. Because as the community might actually catch a few fish while they're learning to fish. That is, the employees might actually innovate and come up with creative ideas while they're undergoing the process of the transformation in the culture of innovation in the organization. Thank you guys for staying tuned to this presentation on how can leaders develop a culture of innovation in the organization and what are the building blocks. If you have any queries regarding the presentation or in general regarding leadership consulting, organizational design, change or other HR practices, do contact me on the below given email IDs priyankpdesh@gmail.com, which is my official email ID, priyank.deshmukh12 at iimranchi.ac.in, which is my college email ID. And for more interesting updates on these topics, do log in to my blog at http://moreable.blogspot.in. Thanks a lot and see you next time.